allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, good morning, everyone. First thing on our agenda, we have the consent agenda.
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. All right, so first on our agenda, we have Christy Everett, Elections Auditor's Office, canvassing our 2020 primary election.
Yep, final, got 2 sets of abstracts. You all have a copy of the
Yes,
election. Breakdown by precinct.
I don't.
Motion is second.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion on this? What was the, so what'd you say the total on the back page?
So actually there was over 13,873 that voted. 8,007 Republicans, 5,866 Dems. The Democratic turnout was 31% registered Democrats. Republicans were 33% registered. Overall of the county, 22%. So we've never seen a 22%
that is fantastic.
turnout. So it was a good turnout. We had maybe about around 1,800 on election day. Otherwise, probably close to 12,000 were absentees.
Thank you.
This was our first time with Neapolitan Labs on our website. When we started with Neapolitan, we were the only county. They're up to 10 now that are just elections. So there was some lag time. Was the server was slow, or it's not big enough for all 10 of us, right?
That we found out election night.
Election night that the server wasn't big enough, but Neapolitan is getting a bigger server.
Yep, they worked on election night to get things opened up a little bit. And then I talked to them election night, and they're already working on a server upgrade for the general, so we won't have that issue.
So we were all uploading, all 10 of us, probably at 9 o'clock at the same time, because he was uploading like right at 9, along with all the other 9 counties, and so.
So I mean,
All
just,
that upload.
so, I'm sure you've heard the criticisms out there and everything, but I guess you believe that this change will speed this up, you think? Is there a way to test that, or is it just we
Yeah.
gotta find out on the
We'll
election
work
night?
with Neapolitan to test it before election night, because I don't want to do that again.
Yeah, I honestly, like, just from, county supervisor wheelhouse here, if there's something we can do to help you get that so it's sped up and as real time as humanly possible,
Yeah.
I think that'd be good, and we will do what we can to make that happen, because all night that night, people were texting, calling, what's
Oh, yeah.
going on, which I'm sure you had to.
Yeah, I even had lag time uploading results, so it was slow across the board. So David's already asked about it, so I'm sure he'll do whatever he can to help me.
Okay.
And then once Brian from Neapolitan says they've got it upgraded, we'll work on with them to get it tested and make sure it works.
Right.
Yeah, we might just have all 10 of us get on at the same time, exact same time, and try to upload maybe these results again.
I'm sure they have a way to
do that.
create traffic and see what they can do to.
Because I think at 9, did he say we had 160 some just hitting our site
Yeah,
Is it
trying
like
to
around?
view the results.
to view the results? So right at 9, we had 160 some people on our site, and that's not including all the other 9 counties. So everybody's hitting the site at the same time, and,
Well, this fall, I think it's gonna be a lot worse.
oh yeah.
You know, this is, every year's like the next greatest year of election. But I mean, obviously, given, the presidential election and things like that, I think a lot more people are gonna be probably monitoring that, seeing what's going on, so.
So why in on these sheets, under Democrat, are there votes for and Republican names?
Because that's what the Democrats, so when they get the Democrat, if you got a Democrat ballot, what they did was they would put a Republican's name on the ballot.
They wrote?
And that was, yeah, they totally wrote,
in Andy and Danny
and
Rob
Melvin,
and me.
Tim
Right,
Whitman,
so they wrote
Brian
in,
Shea,
they wrote in
yes. because there was no candidates on their ballot. So
Oh,
for,
so these are all write-ins?
right, and we had to break them down. If you get over 5%, we report them. So I put them on the report.
So which call got, basically Shay got 78 write-ins, Kay got
You gotta
72,
Each of those.
Dirk's got 41, Tim got 35, and Adam got 26 write-ins on the Ds.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then they wrote Melvin's name in
Those don't
for
count.
No,
300.
just on the Democrat ticket.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you know those
You got
don't count.
300
I got
write-ins.
300 Democrat votes.
Write-ins.
That'll help next
And
time.
then Dennis.
Who got that many?
Dennis-
Melvin?
He did.
Melvin
Dennis
did?
Keeley got
Melvin, you're
34
so
write-ins.
popular.
Yeah, right.
Wow. Dennis Keeley.
Well, and that was on the Democrat, yeah, so.
Let me see, I was sitting in there.
So
they had-
Andy got 18 write-ins and
No.
Rob 12 and,
He got more than 18.
oh yeah, 441, excuse me.
Yeah,
Sorry,
441.
Andy, I was on the wrong page. 441 and Rob got 261 and Danny got 207 write-ins for the Ds.
Well, you
Wow.
know, a lot of people don't,
I've never seen that happen before.
well, that's because
We're so
all these
many.
people, when the absentee request forms went out from the Secretary of State, a lot of people don't normally try to vote in primary other than the party faithful.
No, I
So,
understand.
so we had a lot of people who aren't normally primary voters voting.
Well, I gotta pass it back to Lynn.
I just,
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I just never
Thank
seen
you,
that
Gary, cover by.
write-in like that. I've
Already on
seen
it.
some, but not.
There's
Yeah,
a 34
yeah,
page
no,
bill,
it's,
election bill. and-
well, they didn't
Just
take,
passed
well,
out
the
Senate,
Democrat
go to the
ballot,
House
if you
today.
look
Right,
at the
no, that's
sample,
what
there
I'm
wasn't much
saying.
on
That's
there,
just
so,
Well, you would,
facts,
yeah.
well, they wanted to vote for somebody.
Oh, this just, I think
Hey,
you're just going nuts right now.
It's
You
ridiculous.
speak
Hey,
of one
Leanne,
undo the
are you
least
tracking
amount
that,
they up and they're
There's a
ridiculous.
bill out there that's wanting to give immunity and liability for, I don't know what you wanna call it, unnecessary suits against, I assume it's gonna be against counties and businesses and stuff. Have you seen much on that?
No, I don't see anything on the agenda discussing
No, it's not on the
such
agenda,
too,
but
so
I'm
we
just-
can talk about anything like that.
Well, if you
in the
see
meeting
stuff like
wish.
that, would you,
There's I was talking to Jacobson yesterday and he mentioned that.
that's what I thought, there was a bill out there, I didn't know. if
He's
it was-
on commerce, so, or they want to put him on commerce.
Just
Was
review that.
anybody running?
You can talk to Jacobson.
How,
about it.
are we typically
So
immune
he
of
won.
stuff of that nature?
And I think there is a Democrat.
That's
Jen
not
Pellin?
a simple yes, no
Jen Pellin.
question.
Oh, one of the Pellins,
Democrat.
oh, okay.
But
She
you
won't,
wanna
I don't
kind of
think
look
she'll do
at
it.
that and see
Sure.
But then I thought
Because we don't
Adam would
typically
win,
have
so what do I know?
COVID
I don't think
pandemic.
Marianne, she didn't,
She didn't run.
no,
We
she
haven't had
didn't say
those
she wasn't
before.
running until the right, so it's kind of hard for
Oh,
others to get
oh,
papers.
yeah,
I think it was later on.
yeah.
Sorry.
What's Charlie Johnson doing now?
Oh, I don't know.
I don't know either. I'm not sure what he's doing. Okay.
Do you know what's wrong with her?
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
Because I think she was kind of the bread and butter.
Yeah, I wonder what she's gonna do now.
I know, it's kind of interesting.
She's at Children's Square.
Oh, well, there we go, she's at Children's Square.
She is there?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what she decided to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin, for keeping those,
Bottom. What you got going.
Okay.
he's organized.
You get a motion and a second on that?
Yeah,
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, we're just, you want me to call for the vote? Okay, so all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried.
And thank you very much, Christy and
You're welcome.
Melvin and Andrew. Am I missing anybody? Candy? And
You should have seen those
Yeah.
guys Wednesday. They were just goofy.
oh, I would think they would be,
They were
yes.
throwing things at each other.
Do they not understand it's a 21-hour day over there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah.
Do they not realize we already have 40 hours in?
I only got positive reviews, so.
Yeah.
On what?
The hand sanitizers.
The little pipe
Thanks
bags.
for voting.
Oh,
Thanks
yeah,
for-
Justin, those
thanks
were
for-
awesome.
Thanks for sanitizing your hands.
I saw a lot of social media tweets and people saying I voted and look what I got.
There was other
That was a
counties,
great idea.
there was other counties that were liking our idea, because I told them, I'm like, they're like, what, you're doing that? We like that idea. I'm like, well, this is where we got them,
So they,
so.
the FDA's moved the goalpost on us, so we can't, make it anymore right now.
Well, I thought they allowed it.
We did, but this latest one, we've now
Oh,
changed it again, so now we're,
Penny's
Shipping our mash.
sake, really?
I was gonna order more.
we ship our mash over to Patriarch Distillery in Omaha.
Oh, sure.
They
I
just
thought
sell
you were
it for
doing
us, and that's how we keep going.
oh.
You didn't sign that one.
Why, were people throwing them on the ground or something?
No, there's acetaldehyde in it, there's more acetaldehyde in your glass of wine than there'd be in
Oh.
yours.
Oh.
It could cause cancer of the toenails or fingernails or something, I don't know.
Well, I could see it if I washed my toenails every time I
Right,
went somewhere.
It was a lobbyist thing, honestly, is all it was, they were just trying to, we took market share away.
I thought it was a great idea.
I liked it. I was like really
Who's
impressed
the
with it.
next batch?
People liked it
These
on election day.
go to Maryland, so,
Yeah, I don't think this would have been a fun
These two, you to start
election
signing.
cycle to be. Just no public forum, there's just, everything you did had to be online pretty much, or by mail.
So this is the largest primary that we could find in history
Yeah,
by,
probably back in the sixties maybe would have been your next closest, but, normally we're like a 5 to 7% turnout. So, yeah. We had more absentees than we've ever seen absentees and election day combined.
Was it COVID? Is that-
Yeah,
Yeah, it was.
And
I
the
thought it
Secretary Pate emailed a request
Yeah,
forms to everybody.
that
That helped.
helped. I like that idea.
I did too, because those were the best forms we've ever had come back. People really filled them out correctly instead of
Yeah,
the
they
parties
did.
filling them out. So, it was good.
so the total eligible electorate, that includes the non-party also is.
Right. So there were 63,757 registered voters. Overall, we're at 22%.
63, 760,
757,
757, and that includes the non-parties.
right.
Okay.
I had some people come up and say they've been like lifelong, party members, and then this year they were,
They switched?
had no part, listed no parties, so they had to go and re-register.
Oh,
And they'll be back in to change their
I don't know if
parties.
that had something to do with when you guys did your voter ID or something maybe, or.
No, they would have
They
to
were-
do it.
You have to.
You'd have to change.
Yeah.
They may
They don't
have-
automatically change it.
So when they sent out their request form, if they were a Democrat, but they marked they wanted a Republican ballot, it automatically switches them to a Republican. That's Iowa law. In order for them to switch back to a Democrat, they would have to come in and fill out a new voter registration
Or
form.
what if they had no party, or independent?
Then, and they if they were independent and wanted Republican, they're registered Republican right now. They'll have to come back
but
in.
didn't you say that they were
This person was a
Republican?
lifelong Republican, and they said that they were
Switch to a no party.
switched to independent or
Well,
no
they
party.
couldn't in this election because we didn't have an independent ballot. They could only be Republican or Democrat.
They got notification back from the office that they had no party affiliation?
Yes, they had to go and register.
So if they didn't mark a party, they were probably informed as a letter that they have to mark a party, because we don't know what ballot they want. But if they were a registered Republican and they didn't mark it, we would have sent them a Republican, because they're registered Republicans, so probably at some time they actually said they wanted to be independent, probably because they didn't want phone calls, they think.
Exactly.
But phone calls are,
My sister said that those people thought we were trying to pull something.
because
By
why?
requiring them to put a party on.
Well, we have no ballot to give you. This is a party election. It's a nomination, so, yeah, people don't get it,
Well, they're new primary voters, and some of them were looking for Biden or Trump on the
Yeah.
ballot. And,
they don't understand that we
you know,
caucus.
they're generally voting in general, but not in the primary, so they didn't quite understand the party affiliation business.
Because we had a lot of people that would ask, where's the president? Well,
Yeah.
it's not on there, so,
Where is he? In Washington DC?
yeah, right?
He's in DC.
Do you want a copy? Yeah, you can. I brought it. I thought the press would be here. They will be on our website, though. He'll put them up.
Yeah, within the hour.
Was that pretty standard with what you were seeing across the state as far as the turnout, Christie? As far
Yeah, there
as,
was huge turnout
all-
There was actually over 500,000 people that voted in the state of Iowa,
Which
Wow.
is,
No
which,
kidding.
which is half of our, and I think normally we maybe would see maybe over 100-some thousand. So, yeah, it was a huge turnout all across the state.
I'm curious to see the demographics of that, like if the ages, you know, if young voters actually voted this time, or if it was just more of the,
I think it was probably just the people when we sent that deal out.
That's why I never got
yeah.
it. So like when I get a house that comes, because I don't want us,
You gotta keep signing.
I don't know about.
Like last city
You gotta keep the papers in front of me.
I know, I forgot, I was trying to get those away from
that was it.
Scott, just Tim.
They just snagged them.
You're gonna get writer's cramp.
Nobody outside, Mr. Brown?
What?
Nobody's out there.
Good. They're gonna light under the overhang or something.
Yeah,
Oh, no, you can
they
see
were lined
that.
up when I came in.
It'll thin out.
Isn't it hurt?
Yeah.
Okay, this goes at the bottom of your file, sir.
Thank you.
It's there's no digital way to sign this,
I know, right?
sign them all.
That would be nice. The general, it'll be worse for you because you got to sign certificates then, and trustees, hospital, or
What
ag.
are you guys hearing for the general? Are you gonna be condensed again, you think, or?
Well, there's a 34-page bill in the, just probably, I think, just maybe passed out of the Senate today. Depends on where that goes. It's an amendment to our county seal. If that passes out, we can only reduce down to 35%. So it'd be for us 24 precincts.
Down to 65%.
Down to-
Oh, really? Even in the COVID?
Yeah. Well,
Really?
they were taking secretary's emergency powers away.
Oh.
And they would he would not be allowed to send out request forms in the
You're
general.
kidding.
So is that, I'm assuming that's because it must have been an issue in some of the rural counties where people didn't travel farther to make their vote? Is that the reason why they're doing this?
Well,
Yeah, like people in Walnut, they had to drive to Oakland. So
But we really didn't have that many show up out there. I mean, they basically voted absentee. I think it was, he didn't let the party know what he was doing. Keep them informed is what
Yeah.
we're hearing.
they were upset because he spent $1 million mailing out
Dams.
the
The
forms.
Republicans. No, his old
And
party
he
It was
didn't
the
tell them what he was
Republicans.
doing.
Republicans were mad.
It's a matter of communication.
Yeah.
So they're, they think they're in charge and.
He did get money from the stimulus, which that money is used for that. We will see, I think 300 a precinct, so we have 40 precincts is what we will probably get, we will see from that stimulus package as of right now,
$300?
per precinct, yeah,
Times 40.
times 40.
Oh, they're gonna let you count all the precincts, even though
Yes.
we only had the,
Yes.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I thought maybe you had that money already.
Oh, no. He hasn't given it to us. So, yeah, I don't know what else will,
Do you want these piled on top of those?
yeah, they're all the reds. Color coded.
Very clever. Becky Bissell had the idea of color coding envelopes for the post office. So they won't get the manila envelope from the insurance company mixed up with a ballot. She was gonna call Danny and see how much more a colored envelope costs.
A lot. Well, we're in Manila. There are some counties that are white in Manila. Is that what she's talking about?
Right, well, no, color them, get them green or pink or something so the post office can find them.
Find the.
Balance,
Ballots.
envelopes.
Good.
Good luck. That's not gonna go anywhere.
It's not, why not?
Well, we all have our ballot stocks right now, so.
Well, right, but in the future. She was talking with some postal clerk and come up with that.
Down in her county?
Yeah, I don't know who she was talking to, some postal person.
Andrew, do you want pink or yellow envelopes?
Manila.
Well, pink or green?
I was gonna guess it wouldn't be pink.
MK doesn't want pink. She don't like pink, so.
Well, we don't know how, I don't know, maybe you know how the post office operates. Or to make that easier for them.
I was just gonna say the.
They tell us that my
does-
ballots hit the front
does
door and they ship
anybody.
them back out, but
I don't
I
think
get
so.
ballots back 8 years later, so I don't know where they're at for 8 years. That's it.
When's redistricting happen this year?
Is that,
No, it won't be until next year.
I thought we didn't have
Very,
any yellow ones?
very organized.
No, I don't, I didn't want to do yellow today.
Christie and
Oh, I
you.
thought we had three
Very
different colors.
organized.
We just had green and red?
Oh, yeah, because I know what my other reds are. I know what my other reds are, so I'm good.
Okay,
It was too early this morning. It was like 6:45 I was doing this.
okay.
That's good.
Thank you very much.
Yep, thank you. Oh, and the cost, nobody asked me the question. You guys didn't ask what it
Yeah, we
cost.
have to,
We're at right now at 100,000. That's with none of the COVID stuff. So to run that was like right at 100,000. We had a lot of,
And what,
postage is our biggest expense.
Right.
Yep.
so 100,000
Oh, that's
compared
how much it
to
costs to
what?
put it on.
Yeah, this election was
Compared
100.
to what?
Well, normally
What
we'll
would
see
you-
this in a
what-
general,
What would you have budgeted for this?
about 60, 50.
Okay.
Yeah. We had less precincts, so I paid precinct workers less. I didn't have to pay for any polling sites because we were in schools and one city hall, so we don't pay that. Come the general, I guess it depends on where we're at. If churches won't allow us in,
Depends on how
it'll be
many
a
you have
struggle.
to have.
But we paid more in postage this election, so.
Do you think that bill's gonna pass? Yourself, do you think it will?
Jamie thought it would pass out of the House,
Okay.
or out of the Senate.
It already
Okay.
did. It passed out the
It
Senate.
did.
The House,
Okay,
we
now-
need 3 to vote now.
And I
And
talked
it
to
won't pass.
Jacobson and Mary Ann and Zeke yesterday, and of course, they weren't familiar with the amendment yet. I'll have to read through it.
Yeah.
They hadn't gotten it.
Okay.
There is one Republican that's saying no, so we need 2 more to vote no.
Okay.
So I don't know. A lot of auditors were contacting their
And then,
reps.
of course, if they pass it, then Kim's gotta sign it, and maybe.
Well,
She'll sign it.
do you think she would? Okay.
That's a Republican. Yeah, it'll pass out then.
Okay.
We'll know by Friday.
Okay.
That's when they're done. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's not a good time to go through a bunch of amendments and rejection right in the middle. Pandemic between a primary and a general,
Okay.
and civil unrest, and cybersecurity.
Okay, Chairman Schultz, I'll make a motion to approve and set the date for the public hearing for 10:10 a.m. on June 23rd to initiate MAPPA's bid letting process for the Carson and Macedonia downtown revitalization projects per Chapter 26 of the Iowa Code.
Second?
Okay, any discussion?
What do you need?
See if anyone had anything on this. No, it was discussion.
Is Grant on the phone?
No, probably not.
Yes, I'm on the
Oh, you are?
phone.
Okay.
Yeah, you wanna say, Grant? You can say no.
I would just say that, yeah, if everything goes smoothly from bidding, construction can start in late August or September, and hopefully it can be done by the end of the year. And then I've also asked that Carson and Macedonia, their councils approve resolutions that request the county to act on their behalf for the contractor procurement. But that's kind of it in a nutshell.
It's on the Macedonia's agenda tonight for approval. I didn't see Carson's yet.
It was on Carson's agenda last night, and they approved it.
Okay, good.
Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Grant.
All right, thank you.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Becky Belt, Finance Auditor's Office, discussion decision on approving signing resolution 55-2020, authorizing redemption of outstanding general obligation bonds, series 2014, dated September 23rd, 2014.
Good morning. This is the 2014 series that we had already planned and have the funds to call. What had occurred when we did our June 1st payments, the original resolution, when UMB pulled and made our invoice, only included the $30,000 we already had in escrow, did not include the $445,000 additional that we were prepared to pay. So here is the resolution we have to pass to give them that notice that we'd like to pay the rest. And that payment will be made in July. So you'll see us add this portion to debt service amendment next year anyway. But we are prepared to pay it. We're just waiting for the paperwork so we can.
So moved. Second.
Discussion?
Well, the only thing,
Let's see, this is roll call.
yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, the interest rate is 2% there, which is, you know, kind of unbelievable, but I think it's gonna be less than that. Anything we do going forward at this point.
Okay, roll call please.
Chairman Schultz?
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman,
Aye.
Belt,
Aye.
Drake,
Aye.
and Groby.
Aye.
Melvin, you're not sick, are you?
Huh?
You're not sick, are you?
No, I don't wanna get sick. No, I'm not sick. I was just coughing a little bit. Everybody should be wearing masks.
You should, Becky, have.
Right, Matt? You should be wearing masks.
Take my public health advice from Matt.
It's already
Right.
activated before.
No, Becky's the most highly at risk, so.
Do you?
I just think you can hear me through the
Huh?
mask, so I'm
Do
putting my
you
mask on.
usually wear the mask?
I will sometimes in my office, and then at Hy-Vee, I always wear it.
I can get that to
Just
you,
something
Scott.
to get used to doing. Gotta roll. No, I went out to Underwood Tuesday night and they all had their still, the poll workers all still had their mask on. It was just before 9 o'clock. Went down to Oakland, none of them had masks on. But that was after 9 o'clock. Those poll workers said they felt safer with all the plexiglass and the mask and the gloves and the masks that the voters came in. They felt safer there than they did at Hy-Vee.
That's
Did you
good.
talk to Nancy about, did you talk to Nancy about,
Oh, yeah.
the cleaning procedures and all that stuff?
She got a little tired by the end of the night.
Yeah, I was out there, she looked kind of wasted.
All right, so let's move on. Next we have Matt, Director of Planning and Zoning, or Pam. It says or. Acting Director of Planning and Zoning, discussion decision to approve TIF bonds on the Armstrong Investment LLC Urban Renewal Project. You guys wanna, it's pretty cut and dry, I guess. So you wanna say?
It is, I would like to, if we could have just a short discussion that will come, in the form of a developer's agreement when we can get ready to have that approved. But this project's been talked about for the last, 2 years, and a number of different amounts have been, said. So the final amounts, when they all get settled down, to try to simplify the TIF process that we're going through, instead of having to do a five-year worth of rebates and then another TIF bond piece of it, we're trying to find different areas that we can simplify that down into just a bond style of a TIF that Jason were to guarantee, and then he have an investment in an area to help simplify that for you all. So that will come to you in the form of a developer's agreement once we have those final things put down, but it may not resemble the conversations that have been had over the past 2 years, because it's been talked about in such a number of different ways. So I just wanted to forewarn everybody on that part of it. But this part is for the urban renewal portion of it. I believe is this the scheduled session from Allers and Clooney's?
No.
Okay, so this part of it talks about we have worked with Spear Financial and also then Allers and Clooney's, but we wanted to be able to come up and show some numbers about the potential valuation growth in this and what it would look like on if we were to bond for this, which by the time you take the RISE grant out of the project for the road infrastructure, and then what the actual cost amount left of it would be, it looks like we could bond for about $750,000, which I think what Spear Financial put up, showed on their bond breakdown, was that they would just wind up bonding for $800,000. And what that would potentially allow us to do then is really help as far as the quality of the road that we're gonna get in this development. And potentially even, and I haven't had time to look at it yet, but we emailed up to John about, what if we were to add some asphalt shoulders onto the road, just to really make sure that with the kind of vehicle traffic that's gonna be going in and out of there, what if we, beefed it up a little bit? So the heavy trucks that'll be going in and out of there, having a little bit wider of an area or shoulder for them to be off onto. We've even kind of tossed around the idea of putting in, potential of finding out what it would cost to put in like concrete, culverts instead of just your metal crossings.
So the ramps and ears are already added on the aprons, right?
4 foot,
Yeah, that are already in their stuff.
and they told me it would be rock, so. I don't know.
Okay, whichever, so John, that's a question for you. So those culverts are in our right of way, basically, or easement, right?
Right.
Is there a standard that you want those to be? Or
Right.
who's responsible for them?
The lot owner owns the access points, is that what we're talking about?
They own it?
Yes,
How,
and they maintain them.
how they own it in our easement? Is there agreement written to that effect or something, or?
They'll have a driveway,
Pardon?
there'll be a driveway permit
Okay,
for that.
okay. So then they're responsible for the culvert and the driveway and all that? Okay.
So I have one concern I wanna bring up. There's a resident who lives on the corner, Joe Skinner. And with this property going in, it's obviously gonna generate new traffic, more traffic. And we did dust control, I think, last year or something to try to help out. There's still a lot of concern going on down there. And so I wanna make sure that whatever it is we are doing to help this project along, that we're not completely negatively affecting this resident that's there. You know, this person's been there a long time, and I just wanna make sure that what we're doing is, I don't wanna say protecting him, but keeping him his
He
quality
came
of life.
in, he came in and spoke, I believe, during the planning commission portion of that, and, at the time, his concern on there was they'd had some water issues coming across there, and he spent quite a bit of time, even afterwards, talking with, Joe Zadina from Lamper Nearson over the water issues that they had, and I know that Joe went over to the city side and talked to them, Matt Cox, about the water that they had going on, portion of it, because apparently there was a point in time, I don't know, it was during one of those heavy rains, they had water come up over the road down there and cross from one side over to the next, because if you look, I think if you look at his property, there's a little bit of a drainage way that kind of comes down and hits that road.
Yeah.
Well, everybody knows down there, I mean, it's flat, so to get that water moving down has been challenging, I think.
I think a lot of his concern that he's expressed recently has been more so the traffic side of things, and I don't know, John, I'd ask you to look at this too, just with, it sounds like there's a curve or something, there's no speed limit or no recommended speed on the curve and things like that.
A lot of the issues of, one that's gonna get resolved is there's a header there where it goes from pavement to gravel, and that's always rough because one settles and the other one doesn't, so that's been kind of a maintenance problem for us, but the PCI traffic and the interstate traffic, the construction traffic coming and going, that's really been the driver of most of his issues, so I don't think that's gonna cease until the interstate's done with their borrows and their work down that way.
Yeah. But I said the other day he almost got hit by a semi when he was mowing his lawn, so, I don't know.
And the bus barn will be moving out of there, which I know is on the other side, but should help out a little bit on there. But what we would like to do with Mr. Armstrong, through the negotiation process anyway, is to be able to say that the investment piece that he was looking at putting towards the road, if we were to shift his investment fully over to the water line and then not TIF rebate him back anything on that water line, and then him guarantee the bond for the roads, we would like to be able to utilize that, and then that just cuts the TIF process. It makes things a lot clearer on our side of not having to monitor some 5-year TIF rebate and the amounts potentially that could go back to him versus him just pay for the water infrastructure piece fully on his own and handle that, and then we can use the TIF portion of it then to pay for the road infrastructure and wind up with a product that, we've overseen and we get what we want, basically we get what we want.
Okay. That water line, let's say hypothetically down the road, we put new stuff further down, we wanna run that water, we have to run a new one, or do we connect onto that one?
No, there's a city main there now that he was gonna connect on to, so it becomes the property of Waterworks when it's done.
Okay, but he just paid to have it done.
Correct.
Okay.
Which city, waterworks?
Council Bluffs Water
It
Works.
is clear out there?
Yeah, they run all the way south to the county line, I believe.
Okay.
Google.
Yeah,
Okay,
so it's a sizable main that's sitting out there on the road right away, and I believe
I
it's,
don't think I knew that.
I think it's an 8-inch line that they'll be running all the way around the, development itself, and
Okay, thank you.
We just tied into a cider on the potable
So
water
Matt,
side.
we are not going to take any action on anything today, are we?
Well, I have it here is that you approve the TIF bond on the Armstrong investment. You wanna wait on that until we?
Well, do we have a breakdown of the costs that are gonna be part of it? I don't see them.
we wanna be able to move forward, and we wanna be able to know that we're moving forward in the right direction with the negotiations with Mr. Armstrong and this TIF project, because, like the conversations we've had, Mr. Wickman, the numbers have been tossed around so many different times in this, and everybody's saying that they're gonna pay for different portions of it. If we can clearly say now that Mr. Armstrong is going to cover the cost of the water infrastructure, and we're going to use TIF, on the road infrastructure along with the RISE grant, then that would help clear the way for us to get these developers agreements done, and then bringing them back for approval by the Board of Supervisors. They'll be signed off on by the board and, Mr. Armstrong.
Okay. I don't have any issues moving forward like that.
Well, the 800,000 is
Well, I mean.
they were gonna do 800,000 bonds?
What's that?
That's what voter training.
No, there's nothing to vote on.
Well,
No,
I mean,
That can still
the script was listed that way.
change when we do the official action on it, but estimated, yeah.
So is this more or less you're requesting preliminary approval on all this, and then a final approval will come later when
Right.
development agreement's done? Okay.
Okay, well, so. Good there. I think next on our agenda, we have the approval of the
So do
payment.
we don't need to do anything with this?
We give them a nod as they're looking for it.
Okay.
If you give me my preliminary approval, let me know I'm working in the right direction, that's what.
Well, I think it's a lot cleaner that way as far as, and then if,
I do, I like that.
and if he develops more quickly, then, we don't have the TIF schedule will be a lot shorter, so.
Okay. Chairman Schultz, I make a motion to, pay the services for Ehlers and Cooney out of the, gaming fund.
Gaming?
Second.
Well, I guess for discussion, I have, why not the impact fund?
Impact fund. It's not rural. It's rural.
They pay into the general fund too of the
Right.
county. When we do economic development projects in a city of Council Bluffs, or that comes out of, gaming revenue.
Right, but we didn't do, rural, we put the fund together for rural.
Yeah, and I think the discussion on that originally was for, helping cities and housing and economic development there.
Well, I don't remember that one.
Impact has to be rural, can't be used for city.
I mean, this is rural though.
Yeah.
Will these
Well, we're gonna
funds,
get these
will
funds back
will these
anyway.
funds be part of the, TIF,
Yeah,
Matt?
we're gonna get these back. They're gonna be part of the project. So we're getting them back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's a motion and a second on the floor to take it out of the gaming revenue.
Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
Nay. Motion carried. All right. Next on the agenda, we have the approved and authorized chairman to sign Iowa Economic Development Authority Community Development Block Grant, CDBG, program contract for CDBG OT project.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
So Matt, this is,
limited, so do you have to apply every whatever month, or how's that, how do you draw down, how do you do this? This is, from my understanding, this is a one-time award unless I reapply again. Well, it says not to exceed this number. The 47. So you have it already then? I have not received it yet, we've just been signing the final paperwork for it. Okay. So, I mean, do you have to rebate if you don't use it all then, or? If I don't use it all, then yeah, I assume I'd have to send it back to them. Okay, good. So we have 2 interpreters on staff working for us right now, and then, we have paid for the interpreter line, system that you can use, similar to what 911 utilizes. So all those costs can be, taken back with this CDBG funds.
Do we know where we're at with that yet, cost-wise?
No, off the top of my head, I don't, I can get you a number.
Okay. Well, are we gonna, succeed this number, or are we gonna be under this number?
This will carry us for at least 6 more months.
Okay.
As far as interpretation services go, because they're not there all day. Usually the interpreters will come in the morning, and we'll be able to finish up everything we have to do with the interpreters shortly after lunchtime. And so they're not working full-time hours. And then in the afternoon, if they do have to utilize something, then they utilize the interpreter line.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Approve posting of notices of vacancy for the Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment due to recent legislative changes.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion?
This one is, we knew that the legislation had been passed out of the House and Senate before the COVID had kicked off, but then we have been told that when everybody came back into session that this was very low priority to be signed, and it ended up being one of the first things that was signed, and it has to, so anybody who wants to be a member now of the Potawatomi County Planning and Zoning Commission or the Potawatomi County Board of Adjustment has to live within the rural jurisdictions. And what had transpired on our planning commission, at least for 2 of the members that we are losing from the planning commission, was that they had been rural members of the commission, but had recently retired and had moved into a city jurisdiction as a part of what their retirement was. And it's really unfortunate that we're losing the benefits of these individuals, because they had a lot of experience in being a part of the planning commission. A lot of time going through the land use plan, the different subdivisions, ordinance changes that we had done to really kind of see that. One member had been on since 2004. Another member had been on since 2007. And then, some of the experience too comes from our population base, which had been, we had members on there who had been on with the city of Council Bluffs, but they do a lot of work in rural Potawatomi County, whether it's in the real estate side of things or other pieces that they do. And so when the legislation was signed by the governor's office, what that did was immediately terminate their positions with us on those boards and commissions. And so now we're gonna have to, luckily, we have 4 left on our planning commission, because we have a meeting coming up really shortly where there's subdivision approval that'll have to be on there. And then the 1 member that we're losing from our Board of Adjustment, while she was a new member, she was definitely one of the more active members on the Board of Adjustment. She had a great insight into things. And part of it too is she's female, and when you look at the gender balance of what we had to do, it's hard to recruit females into those positions. And so it's a tough loss for Potawatomi County, but one that I reached out to our our state representatives ahead of time to try to get them to stop the legislation, and even though they were unsuccessful at that, and then, to have it signed so quickly is, it's a hit for us, but we'll have to have these positions posted back up, and we'll be looking for, 3 members of the planning commission, 1 member for the zoning board of adjustment, all of which is really important for the growth of Potawatomi County.
Yeah, it's real unfortunate that a couple of counties that couldn't get, things done correctly, like Potawatomi County does, we have to suffer because of their failure.
John.
So, well, it's Johnson, and I think Polk had something to do with it, but the 4 people, Matt, Nelson Bingham from the Planning Commission, Carson resident, Larry Plagman from Planning Commission, Carson resident, Diane Dietrich, Planning Commission, Council Bluffs, and Carrie Jensen, Board of Adjustment, Council Bluffs. So that's who we're losing.
What the land use plan was mentioned in that legislation too. What did they, you got any idea what they're gonna head down that road with?
That was with the ag, educational piece.
Oh, so they added in, an ag. So there's been a lot of talk throughout the last couple of years about ag experience. And, there were some zoning administrators out there that really tried to crack down on farms becoming commercial businesses, as far as petting farms or showing people what farming is like for a day. And, so now they added in an ag, part of the ag exemption is an ag educational experience. And allowing, farmers to, be a part, have basically somewhat of a classroom setting, I would think, out there, do all different kinds of agricultural education, which again, has never been an issue in Potawatomi County before. I feel like we work really well with our, ag partners and being able to do, a lot of the members of these, Larry Plagman and those guys, they are farmers or retired farmers. And so it's just, we are suffering from issues that they have on the other side of the state, to where I think they try to crack down their controls a little bit too far, and then they wind up getting big pushback from it. But whether it's wineries or even so our goat cheese, we have a great goat cheese market around here, which is, there's 2 different individuals that have creameries out there. And I don't, know that there was anything wrong with what they do. And I think they provide a great experience when they go out there. They do their goat yogas and receive permits from us to be able to have more people out there on their property for the traffic that they generate.
So is ours 2013?
15,
Is it 15?
yeah.
Okay. And what's the recommended every
5 years.
every 5?
Well, we go back and we do like a more moderate review every 5 years, but this plan was extended out to, from 15 to 30.
So are you gonna take a look at that then?
We will, yeah.
Okay. I think it's something we need to probably do. I mean, you're working on that deal with the city and stuff, so, okay.
So this, law will affect the Honey Creek Creamery and anybody else that wants to do any sort of ag tourism?
No, because they were already able to do that here.
Okay,
So
all right.
I don't feel like that part of it has really anything to, some counties really go all out on the whole ag exemption process. So they were charging for ag exemptions, they were charging, farmers permit, they were charging them, application fees. They were really going in depth on the records that they were requesting from them. Just doing a number of things that we do not do in Potawatomi County. We have an ag exemption form that they can fill out.
Right.
And the majority of them do fill it out. Or if we get a complaint on a building project and one of our inspectors happens to stop out by there and well, it's a farm and it's a pole barn going up, they can either fill out the application form for us, and what we provide to them then is a placard that looks a lot like a permit that they can post down there, so then, you know, people can see, well, what kind of project's going on.
Well, we got a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next, we have an application approval for a permit to display fireworks filed by Dean Ratliff for display on July 4th, 2020 at 55 Lawndale, Council Bluffs.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, next we have Gianna, Director of Human Resources, discussion decision on Public Information Officer position.
Good morning. I just wanted to get back in front of the board and rediscuss this position and see if it's the board's pleasure to continue moving forward with the hiring of this position, or if there was some interest in pausing it.
Well, I think the pause for me anyway just came as the virus kicked off. We didn't want to have these interviews and one-on-ones, especially since we were before the courthouse. The city was allowing us to use their PIO, and it worked.
And they still are.
Yeah. Now, I don't know that eventually that narrative is going to change, you know, and they're not going to be allowing us to use that all the time. So, I don't know if this needs to be a discussion for or against. It's a matter of whether or not we want to continue.
Well, I think we, you know, I don't know, this is a cost that goes into perpetuity if we go down this road. And I'm not opposed to take a look at, but until I think we know where we're at, after this COVID with our fund balances and stuff. I mean, I'm reading counties, that in Iowa that are furloughing people and I just want to pause, to be honest with you. And get us down the road. I know that we, you know, they, whatever the, what they call themselves, GADB or whatever, says you should be so many percent of your, you know, your fund balance should be your, and I think they're gonna have to revisit that for some of these people, because some of them are really, some of our counties are in really good shape from what I can tell. And I don't know where we're gonna be. We're gonna end this fiscal year real soon, and hopefully we'll know shortly thereafter. What is, they're not gonna have any tax sales. I don't know what, was she in the 90% of collected taxes, I think?
Just a little more than that, the last time I looked.
Okay.
We were looking
I think you
good
said
on
about
tax
95
collection,
when
but
I was getting those
But
numbers.
this position goes, you know, into perpetuity, and we really haven't, we didn't budget for it for one, and then the other piece of it is, it probably should fall into the study that we're doing too, what that would look like, that range. I know that the city's already at 100, what, was it 114? Does that sound right, Ashley?
I don't know, I feel like last year when we looked into it, it maybe was 88, but that wasn't including benefits.
Okay.
I could be thinking of, I think the 114 might have been one for the
I pulled it out, I
schools.
might still have it on
Okay.
my desk. But
And so ours was, the range was 61 to 75, not including the cost of benefits.
benefits.
Mhm.
But if that came back as a not the range from the wage study, then we gotta start working toward that. So I don't, that's just my feeling on it, to be honest with you right now. I'm real, I don't say I'm ultra conservative, but I know I worked the time I've been here to get this thing in pretty financial condition, and I was never expecting pandemic or any of that, and, I just don't wanna get into a position where I have to, because this reminds me a little bit of '08 and the property crisis and stuff, where, I don't know, values are gonna hold and such. I mean, it seems to be, it's gonna do, but I just, I guess that's where I'm at.
You're correct on the tax sale, Scott. As far as I know, it's been postponed. It hasn't been canceled.
For this year, you can't have one.
When did that come out?
Well,
I
don't know,
saw it
that's
was
what I read.
postponed, but I didn't see they canceled the tax sale
Yeah, until
altogether.
next year, is what I read in the ISAC deal.
As I say, I glanced at something NACO sent out or something and it alluded to that. I didn't know if that was the final decision.
Yeah, it said that they'll maybe have 2 next year. I mean, that's what it said, so I don't.
Yeah, either way,
Right.
you know, if it's postponed or not, or canceled, you know, that 10% that the tax sale pays, that unpaid taxes, is a substantial amount of money. And it's not like you can spend it, because you're not gonna get it. It could affect Pottawatomie County. Well,
But I can go down the list, you know, it's gonna be sales tax, it's casinos. I mean, we can sit here and think gas, but I guess I just feel comfortable to just, you know, kind of put this position in a holding queue, to be honest with you, until we get down the road here and see where we're at.
I agree with you, Scott, on this
Well, so-
particular item.
I don't disagree with where you're going on this. What I do wanna make sure is that we don't just nix it. And the reason why is because this has come up since I've been on the board, both terms I've been on the board, that we've needed someone to be a PIO. And ultimately, when we have messages that we need to get out, thank God that the city's letting us use theirs right now. But otherwise, it's gonna fall on someone's shoulders. And that someone was me several times. And I don't necessarily always have the time to do that, and nor will any of you. You know, so I think you're right, like, we need to see where we end up budget-wise, but if we do come up on something that needs to get out there in the public, I think it'd be very wise for us to figure out if there's a firm out there that maybe we can contract with on a short-term basis, should we need to do those kind of things. But down the road, I mean, I think this is an absolutely necessary position.
And we have that.
We just don't
We
have it.
have, well, I don't know, I wanna say we vetted them, but we've talked to probably 4 or 5 firms that are, in my mind, are fairly reasonable, price-wise, that we could, you know, I guess,
You know, the next tornado that takes out a community or something.
we could
you know,
put,
That, then what?
we
You know,
could put them
Bernie's
on,
Council Bluffs is
we
that.
could put them on, you know, on a month, I think they would do a month-to-month deal. If we need to be, I guess, so.
I'm not against this at all, Justin. I like his plan to, let's take a look at our balances, and those will come out in July. We'll know a little more where we stand, then we can take another look at it. I'm not against it. I just want to wait just a little while longer.
Okay, so we do, someone wanna make a motion to just postpone
Pause?
this, or, yeah,
I'll make a motion that we pause.
Second?
okay, any other discussion?
The only thing that I would add is, so what will happen now with the candidates? So obviously, you know, the posting has been pulled down. Liz has sent emails to the candidates letting them know that, you know, we're dealing with COVID, things are on hold. But what will happen now, I think because the pause is indefinite, I think we can say we don't know when this will come back. What we'll do is, so the position will stay closed. We'll send another message to the candidates, however it will be worded, that they'll have to look for it and reapply. So what I would recommend is that we post it again later, and then everyone would be invited to reapply. So we won't necessarily be hanging on to these applications, but can watch for
Cause
the
it would've
posting.
been a budget amendment for somebody for whatever, $100,000 or whatever, so.
Excuse me.
Right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. Next, we have other business. Approve the assessor's recommendations on following applications.
Hey, Jenna, don't leave quite yet.
So move.
Second.
Discussion.
Tim made the motion.
Is Lauren in here? She's probably not in here. There was nobody was disallowed, so.
Yeah, so 6 recommended allowed, 43 recommended allowed. Disabled homestead was 5. Business property tax, there was 6. So, alright, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. We're gonna take a brief pause and we'll go into study session after this.
This is nice. I know you're probably just starting down this road, but this is nice. The thing I didn't quite get was on this section, or maybe it's your Garfield or Jake that's contributing to it, but it had a grand total of claims for 16, but then it said total outstanding was 52.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I was wondering if that would be questioned, because I didn't exactly understand it 100% myself.
Okay,
I think it has something to do with claims that are done and claims that are still they're looking
Well,
at,
there should be,
but I can get more detail on that.
there should be something like pending and closed,
Okay,
and, something like along
Sure.
that line. But this is
Sure.
really, I think this is very helpful, and this is the type of things that, we, as a county, and I think some of this you should share, and maybe you have, with the department heads and stuff.
yeah, I haven't, but I agree with you. I think some of those numbers, even like the turnover rate,
Right,
I think
exactly.
the money that we spend per month on sick call-ins, not that you can't control things if people are sick, but it still helps plan and helps schedule. Yes, exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, okay, you're welcome. And as you think about it, if there's anything else
Well,
you'd
this is
like me to add.
you haven't been sending me this before, have
I
you?
just sent it on Friday for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I thought.
I was gonna say, if you've been sending it, I haven't been
No.
getting it.
No,
Okay.
no.
Thank you.
Okay, good, you're welcome.
We'll move it to this line item.
Okay, we're pausing for how long did you say?
Just another 10 minutes or so, 5, 10 minutes.
Is he still recording?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
You want me to pause?
Pardon?
You want me to pause it, or do you?
Yeah, I think I'll hit pause.
Do you want me to end this one, Scott? The live stream?
streaming too.
Does, I don't know, do we need to continue live stream? There's not gonna be decisions made.
That's true, but because you're saying that it is live streamed, probably,
Okay, well, I better not
so,
do anything then.
I think you can pause it, but then you have to start a new stream, is that right?
So, yeah, I would pause.
Okay. People probably shut it off. Nobody's doing anything. But it might, yeah. I don't know. Master, do we need to pause the,
Do we need to?
wait, we're taking a break, I guess.
Oh, well, I thought it was just, all right.
I think I screwed that doorknob 6 times now. Should I be counting?
That's what we wanna see.
Is it every hour or something?
They just roll through, but now, this morning, since they got cut down from going into the 3rd and 4th floors, then yeah, they were gonna be hitting the 2nd and 1st a lot more than what they were.
You're not doing third and fourth?
Andy told them not to, cause there's only employees up there, so they're only, well, they're gonna do 3rd and 4th, but it'll be, like once in the morning and then after lunch.
Okay.
Not as much as what the public is.
Okay.
So once
Honestly, the 5th floor is closed to the public too, pretty much,
yeah.
so. They keep coming up and wiping the counter outside our window and.
Andy has charge of that, huh?
Leanne, do you know, when Christine Shockey will be back in the office?
I don't know.
Don't know her schedule.
Melissa will post it.
I just got some more, pop cans for her sons.
I could
She's
give her a
working from
text
home?
if you want me to, Mel.
Right,
Yeah,
her last name's now
starts with a C.
CIRCO, is that?
I can text
Is she
her if
working
you
from
have
home?
some.
Yes.
Okay.
She
Well,
comes in at
Adam-
least once a
Adam and Amy
week,
got a
usually
pile there.
2,
They
3 times a
can't
week,
take
but
them to the-
I don't know her
To
schedule.
the
Yeah.
can center anymore at the school, I guess, or wherever they had been taking them. So I thought, well, she really enjoys my beer cans.
Do you get your money for them?
No,
No.
just her boys
Let
were,
the boys
had a
do
little
it.
summer project to
Oh,
collect the cans.
that's what it is.
I don't know whether store them in the garage until they can get rid of them, I don't know.
Yeah.
I've heard the can thing becoming a bigger deal.
Yeah, lots.
People want the cans opened back up.
Brewskis is open.
They are. Yeah, Brewski's is taking cans back. Because I don't believe they said you have to close them down. What they said is that you don't have to take them. So grocery stores for years have been trying to get
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of the taking of cans. They don't want you bringing those cans in there because they hate managing it. So it didn't surprise me when that was like the first thing grocery stores went for was, well, we gotta quit taking these cans so we can do more things.
Well, that is kind of nasty business.
Oh, boy, is
And
it
then
ever.
they take them into Hy-Vee, when they
Yeah.
clear through the whole store and that back little room, and I don't know why they put it in there, and then they have that reduced.
Family
center.
Fare has a better deal because you go into a separate area of the building.
Yeah.
They don't go into the store at all. That's much better.
We used to take them down to Red Oak, and these ladies were in there, and they then dump the bag, and they'd count every single one of them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
We'd take 200 down at a time, but they didn't take very long, but they would count every one of them.
The Walmarts have a machine now, you know. You just dump them in and it automatically counts. Yeah, the one on 16th does. I'm not sure about the one. Yeah.
A 2-liter and a,
I can't answer that. My son does all that for me.
oh, okay.
But I know if he takes them to Walmart, but you have to wait in line because everybody wants to do that.
Yeah.
John, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the road use tax number on an annual basis, what would you receive?
They put it in different pots, but it's right around 7 million.
7 million?
Yeah, I can dig it up here.
No, that's
For
fine.
the whole state?
Oh, just for Pot County.
So.
7 million.
Most of them are projecting, and even the DOT, from what I've been reading, 25% on that.
Yeah, they started at 40%, they're 25. It slowed down, but we were ahead coming into this.
Right, but
We had
I
three
think you
quarters
won't see
momentum,
it,
so.
you won't see it until, so this is June, July, probably not until September.
Oh, really that late?
Yeah, cause you're that far behind on the deal. Just the same with the sales tax, they basically pay us averaged out and they wanna settle up with us.
Maybe the disbursements behind. I was trying to give you just a monthly update when we run our.
Right.
at the end of the month, but really haven't seen much decline and we're gonna end up ahead in our revenue still.
The revenue so far that you're receiving.
Yeah, even local option, I think we're close to 2.8 and I think I projected 2.2, so.
Well, the next one, the next report, you should see something
No.
different.
Let me get them done. I'll stay for the.
Yeah, I'll just keep trying to send you guys monthly updates on the revenues.
And the casinos,
And the next page.
Who's this for?
The redemption that we did
Oh,
this
what
morning.
did you do? Okay.
what they're gonna,
So two for each.
Grant.
June's always a bad ass month. Easy.
It's worse this year, I think, than any year.
It-
So it's been
And I
bad.
haven't been anywhere.
Yeah, yeah,
But still though.
yeah.
Well, should we get going on the study session?
Now, let me get it cranked up here. All right, now it's recording.
I know better than to wear short sleeves in this room. I am freezing to death.
Okay, so purpose of the study session, really, I wanted us to talk about kind of just projects and things that we've been kind of putting on the back burner because of the COVID virus and, you know, just some of that stuff that we just need to get back on the forefront of our minds, really, so that we can start preparing a budget. I know a lot of it's gonna depend on what comes in, but there were a lot of projects that were sitting out there that were, you know, already kind of earmarked with fund balance that we already had, so I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page going forward, kind of go from there. I think first, I mean, this conversation can go a number of different ways. I kind of left it to be a little more open forum on it. But Tim, I know you had kind of a list of things. Excuse me. I don't have Corona, but the list of things that we have kind of on schedule that we did before, you know, before the virus hit, we said we were gonna do a list of, so for example, we had the B wing, we had cabins were one of them, we had things we bonded for, those are the projects is what I'm trying to talk about, so. I have some things that I have concerns about, I guess maybe I'll just start.
Okay.
So I'll go with mine first. The City of Council Bluffs has talked to us about potentially doing the firing range down there, partnering with the PD to extend their firing range and make it so that they can do more long-range training with the rifles and things like that down there. That's to the tune of about $1 million up, I should say, not to exceed $1 million. I think conversations I've had with some city council members, that ask will be substantially less, and I think Chief Carmody is looking at trying to find ways to get that number knocked down, so our half would be up to $1 million. That's one. There's also some real estate development going on off Pioneer Trail, and we've had conversations in the past about running water down like 240th Street, is that right?
It zigzags all across there. It'd be a water line from the Bentry Water Tower down to the Pioneer Trail.
Okay, so I don't know if we even figured out what that was gonna cost, did we?
It was right about $2 million.
So,
Correct. You know, if I can just make a comment on that, Chairman Schultz, I think are they a year and a half away before even starting that development, Matt?
They're at least a year and a half away for that piece of it goes, but the rural water stated that it would take them 2 years potentially to get that installed down to the site. So that's why we wanted to keep the conversation going about that part, because that water infrastructure is gonna take a little bit to get in place and down to them.
I think your question earlier that it will involve LMI.
That one will, yes, because it is residential. So the TIF district on industrial piece that we talked about earlier, no LMI requirements to that. If we do this other one in the same fashion with TIF, then there would be an LMI requirement.
And you know, the thing is, when you need to be thinking about that, I don't know that any of our communities outside of Council Bluffs and Carr Lake are in the LMI, fit in that box. You know, and I would say, well, Oakland, and I don't know that Oakland can, or Avoca or something,
I think each of the communities out there struggle a little bit because they have done TIF projects on their own. And so they have an LMI fund that is somewhat building, and they do kind of do their own investment programs with like new home buyers. They'll give them a credit through that.
Right, but I
They
mean,
do
it's
their own, they give people money for renovations. on, that they go through their own?
I believe Underwood has it too, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. But their demographics don't.
So in that discussion, Chairman Schultz, that wouldn't really be any out-of-pocket money for the county.
Okay, I guess I
If
just
we
wanna
were to-
make sure that we.
If we were to TIF it.
Right.
It'll be out of pocket initially and then reimbursed.
Sure. But I mean, that's.
Bond, right? Bond.
Even if you don't bond, if it's debt to be repaid.
I guess the big thing is that the developer is saying, are we doing this or not? You know, and that's a big deal, and everyone needs to understand that if we say, no, we're not doing it, that means the amount of homes that are gonna get there is gonna be slashed in half from what they're planning on, which means a lot less tax base down the road.
So if they have water, you can do an acre per resident?
So yeah,
Resident two?
it's half, because without water, it's 44 homes. With water, there's a potential of 88.
And the other thing is we run water to this general area. Now, if you guys remember the chicken farm and all that stuff that was going on, that is this area. So the potential for more growth as these other farmers are kind of getting out of farming, that's the new area for new residential area. And now that water line could be tapped in going further east, and now you've opened up a whole other section with possibly another 100 homes or so. And there's several different sections over there that I think these developers are looking at. So I think making this investment, whether we do it through TIF or CAT, whatever, I don't care. It's worth our time, but we need to kind of give that developer an answer, you know, are we gonna do this or not? So that they can kind of keep moving forward.
The water line was sized for up to 1,600 homes.
Yeah.
Now, this is $2 million.
$2 million of which we would TIF ultimately, so.
I know, I've driven through that area, and there's a lot of feed yards and confinements down in there.
So the feed yard is no longer, that was Brant's gone, it's gone. So they've sold off their kids, you know, basically ultimately agreed that that's not gonna be a thing anymore. And so the developer's looking at potentially turning that into executive, and that's what they call them, executive ranches or whatever. So basically you'd have like a house on 5 acres or something like that. But then the other side, on the bottom side of the hill that the Brant Farms used to own, that's where these 88 homes are going. And then on the east side, I forget the name of that farmer, but that guy's also looking to be done. And kids have no interest in farming it, and that's gonna become another site that they're looking at. So the feed yards that are over there, there's a couple, maybe a pig farmer that's out, but it's not very big at all, and that's nothing that, I don't think it's anything that's gonna interfere with what's out there now. I mean, I grew up out there, I couldn't tell you any different, so.
Is that in the 3 mile deal, or is that outside?
It is outside of the 2 mile.
It's outside the 2?
Correct.
Is it outside the 3 then too?
It would not be outside of a 3, no.
Okay.
It hits the 240th Street is the kind of your crossing street, if you want to think of it that way. So where Pioneer and 240th intersect, those 4 corners, well, 3 corners, I guess, would be what we're talking about. Unless, I don't know if Nancy Schultz and her family would want to ever sell, but that's potential ground there too. Anyway, that's one I want to make sure we're keeping on our list, because, you know, if we're talking about spending $5 million next door, you know, here's $3 million worth more of potential projects that I want to keep on out front of us, you know. Tim, do you want to go down the list of the other ones you have?
Back to that water line, you know, if it's 2 years from now, there's a potential that not one of us will be on this board. So I'm certainly at this point in favor of taking a good hard look at TIFing for that water line for economic development. But I don't think, I mean, I'm certainly in favor of moving forward with it and letting them know that if I'm on the board, I would be supportive of it. But if it's something that's 2 years away, it's kind of hard to commit.
Well, they need to start now. I mean, what are you missing there? Like,
Well, there'd be a developers agreement that we'd have to take a look at. The developer would have to guarantee that the property tax from their homes is enough to pay the TIF off? And those kind of things before. I mean, in general, I'd be in favor of it, but it'd have to have some kind of a payoff plan too.
They do have that breakdown to show you if you like at some point in time that shows
Okay.
what because they worked with Becky Belt and came up with like, what's it look like if they built eight homes a year out there and show how the value increase.
Was that, based on a $2 million TIF, Matt?
No, that was just only for the valuation of the property, to show you that. We haven't worked with, Maggie yet from Spirit Financial.
And we haven't talked to Rural Water either, but, and I wanna go back and just, so Jason's project out there, Jason's people have to pay 1.5 times what everybody else pays for water. So what I pay for water, those people have to pay 1.5 times more, just like the people of Bentry do, because it's city water. So there's benefits that the city gets out of that too. And then I know on the last phone call we had with Spear, she was asking about the urban renewal with this courthouse campus. And from right now, the way the lay of the land is, it makes some fiscal sense to maybe pursue that.
I think it makes 100%. I think you're absolutely right. I don't think there's any reason we shouldn't do it.
Well, I don't.
Because two things, it's gonna protect the fund balance that we have in place now, if it goes through. And secondly, it's gonna help us deal with some of that debt situation that we're gonna be put in next year. When we get to our
Well,
budget
maybe
cycle.
for a couple of years, potentially.
I mean, there's definitely different schools of thought. I mean, we have enough money, we've done well. I mean, we've done incredibly well. There's enough money in the savings account to pay for a lot of these things. But
untying your hands for the potential to use
Right.
other resources and other
COVID fall
other
hits, then
measures
what, you know?
is completely.
Well, the thing about bonding is, or the money that you have on hand was paid for by our predecessors. Bonding will be paid for by the future taxpayers, and those are the ones that are gonna take advantage of the water line. It's in the future. That's the difference between bonding and your savings, is that those people who are using it in the future will be paying for it.
Well, right, I guess in this context, it would be the courthouse, you know, the B wings would fall in it, and then tearing down the old, I think we can get that roped into that, tearing down the old structure over there and turn it into a parking lot or something, but.
Creating that plan and setting it at the beginning, what they consider if you add other projects within that same campus are just amendments later. So it just because we know what we think it might want to look like now, it's just getting that legislative advantage of untying those pots. And you don't even necessarily have to use it, it's just something that gives you a tool. And it could be 5 years down the road when something, you know.
Ultimately, we gotta get the city council to approve it, because we're in their jurisdiction.
Right.
That's the only,
I remember that.
I guess that's the only hurdle we gotta overcome, and the conversations I've had with them, I don't believe that the city council really has any issues with us doing this, because it makes financial sense to them as well when they look at it.
You can state in your plan you won't benefit from TIF revenues from it. You just want the authority to be able to change your limitations.
Can I ask a question about the TIF district? If you draw that district, it wouldn't just be the proposed development on Pioneer Trail. Would it be a 1/4 mile each direction of the water line as it goes down? Because if you tip just this area and a developer jumped in the middle, you just missed that potential TIF. And 240th, it's undeveloped now, it's gravel, so if you drew that TIF district all around that water line, then any development that drove that, we could probably grab and help get those roads improved and the other infrastructure, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately that 240th especially should become a bituminous
It'd be
minimum.
great if you could protect that corridor, because that's where your development's gonna be as far as the TIF district. And if you don't use it, fine, but at least have it done up front, so if you need it later, it's there.
And being outside the 2 mile, we could,
What's that?
being outside the 2 mile district with Council Bluffs, we could do just like John said and draw it with that whole water line. Anything that we come up inside the 2 mile limit of Council Bluffs, then we have to do that
I
joint,
think we just
joint
need,
agreement with the city.
we need to talk to legal a little bit, because when you start doing agricultural, I'm not sure that we can tip that.
We can. We
Well, there's
we
a-
have TIF districts with ag,
No,
in the ag districts,
pardon?
in the ag districts.
I don't know that you can do just, we just need to make sure, because.
If you're doing an economic development one, not a
Yeah,
silver
but you
blight or a.
have to usually make a determination that it's, you know, slum and blight and some other things, but.
Or you can have, if, that is one way, category of TIF, you can also do an economic development, it doesn't have to be slum or blight. There are
okay.
just different sunset dates depending on which one you do, and so you wouldn't wanna start a clock. But you can certainly draw out, I've got an entire drawer of a city who has several plans created. They've never been activated, but they got those ideas and those things set in motion, so they had them developed. And then when they
Well, I know
choose to
they've-
develop or choose to have
I
debt,
don't
then they'll
know,
turn
I
them
know
on.
they've tweaked those TIF rules and stuff as times went along, but I just, for some reason, agriculture seems to pop in my head, but maybe.
I think that's because we did have a big discussion about the housing development on whether or not that was going to be allowable because of the tweaks that they had done with ag. And, when we talked to Jason and Jenna up there, at Alhers in the beginning, then they said that, yeah, we would be okay, because we would have the urban rural plan, and then the housing development would go in, and it would be under the basis of like the economic development thing, so.
Okay.
I mean, certainly, definitely still need to have those discussions, but I think you'll find there's some leeway.
And John, I think you're probably pretty well aware, rural water doesn't really follow what you normally think right away.
Yeah.
They'll just go.
Well, he said he was,
Do you think they can cut across farms, or what do you think?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they would rather stay out of, they don't wanna be in the road ditches, they wanna be in the field where they could just go.
So we gotta deal with farms on that too then.
Well, they do, the rural water does all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they do that. They don't run like you would normally think.
No, it makes, you want it as straight line as possible. I mean, every 90 you put in there, you lose pressure. So, I mean, that
Yeah.
means you gotta have a bigger motor size on the other side to push that water. Or pump, I guess, but I wanna make sure that we've talked about this for over a year now. And so I don't wanna just talk about it again, be like, oh yeah, we're all cool with it, and then not really be cool with it. I want to make sure that I can go back to the developer and say,
Yeah, you have to get a commitment from the developer that they will actually develop it even.
if they're already hauling dirt, I mean, the commitment's already been made.
Well, it is, okay.
Yeah,
No, I mean, it wasn't just a idea that they had, I'd like
no,
to do
this is
this.
happening, whether or not we do this or not, but, you know, from our wheelhouse, it's like, I'd rather have twice the number of homes that we
Yeah.
tax
Yeah, that would be.
than, you know, if you can have 88 or 44, you'd much rather have 88, that you're drawing $8,000 a year in total in property tax from. I mean, I know it's not gonna be, I know that breaks out differently when you look at schools and everything else, but.
What happened with the dirt hauling on that? Did they
That
fulfill?
particular dirt hauler, I'll tell you what happened. Long story short,
Something happened.
Mid-American Energy figured out that they can get sand, river bottom sand cheaper, and so they're moving to hopefully put in a conveyor system from South and Mills County and convey dirt all the way up to where they're using it, rather than buying dirt and hauling it over there. So from our perspective, you know, if you're an engineer, you love that idea because it's not driving trucks up and down your roads and beating the hell out of them. But that's what happened. So that individual lost his contract. Someone else won it. So there's dirt being hauled there still right now, but it was somebody else.
Why does Mid-America?
So the developer right now is working to,
Why does
they have
Mid-America?
two
need
things. They're
dirt?
looking at potentially just shifting the way that all that ground looks, or they're gonna have another potential buyer to buy dirt, which I believe might be the interstate, so. I don't, from the conversations I've had, it sounds like there's some concern, but not as much as they're concerned about whether or not we're gonna do this. You know, but given how long it's gonna take to get the water line going, I mean, we need to get rural water going too, you know, so I'd like to say, let's get this on the agenda to approve it sooner than later. I don't know what, that's kind of what I wanna find out, what are our next steps to do that, so I can take that back and get the ball rolling.
What is Mid-America Energy filling in if they
They're
need them?
capping their, fly ash piles.
Oh, the fly ash.
The fly ash, and then they're filling in their old containment pond, they're building new ones. The old cooling ponds that used to be in
Oh,
front, so
yeah.
they're filling in the one and they're making new ones up north.
Oh, okay.
It's quite the operation really, but I don't know, like I said, when I leave here, I wanna have a plan, so as far as I'm concerned, we need to come up with that plan.
So the next steps on that, what I would see from, on our part anyway, is, contact the attorney's office to start working on the urban renewal plan for that, that area, meet with rural water again, and find out what they need from our side before they begin any work. I know they already did the initial engineering of it and kind of layout. And then, bring those things back to the board, cause the attorneys will give us a schedule to follow on what needs to be done there. And then, we'll also have, I'm sure, some development agreement with the developers to sign with us on that water line project going down there.
Okay.
Yes, that's what I would see on my next steps.
John, I'm just throwing this out there, I really would urge you to figure out how to pave 240th or make it a, whatever, bituminous or asphalt or whatever it is, because I think when these developments go in, you know, that is, I don't know for sure, but I think that's really close to where the Trainer Lewis Central line is. So depending what side of the road you live on, you're going to Trainer or you're going vice versa, but if that's not that way, two things, you're gonna tear the crap out of your gravel road or you're gonna tear up Pioneer Trail with that increase in traffic, so if you have
That's Joan
two
and
paved
Freddie
roads,
Miller's
it's gonna be a lot
road.
better off.
I was hoping Tiff would
What'd you
pay
say?
for
I
that.
think that's Joan and Freddie.
I do too.
You make that
Yeah,
part
I
of a
think it
project
is, yeah.
and can make that part
Does
of
240th
the
run,
expense.
is it a straight
Because
line back
Brant
to
was right off of
92?
240.
There's one
I mean,
big
he was
curve
right
there
off
at
of
the
Pioneer
bottom, goes
Trail.
down and then back up.
Yeah, between 6 and 92, I'm trying to think what it is, but it's pretty straight out of the county. Well, except for, yeah, right there at the county line, there is something, isn't there? It's,
But if I go out Pioneer Trail, that corner, you go past Dumfries, right?
Yeah, you go just past
The
Dumfries
Dumfries.
1.
240 is where the pavement ends there.
Yeah, and if if I head north, is that a straight shot to 92 or
Yeah, it's
not?
pretty short. There's a kind of a steep hill there that's kind of weird. I don't know that it's paved real well, but, yeah, that's pretty straight in there.
Okay, so that would be,
It goes on up to Greenview.
is that,
Is
is that,
92.
is
I
that
was gonna say, it
three?
goes to 92.
Yeah, it goes
Because it goes
across.
on north,
Yeah, it
so
goes,
there's,
yeah.
there's potential even north of 92.
Is that 3 miles or 5 miles back to 92?
I think it's 3. Let me,
It's not very long, I don't know. It's the back road to Trainer, I don't know, it's just.
I'm trying to think where 240 crosses 92 at.
What's down next to the, Meguta's church development.
It's that far east?
Yeah, that's, it's a farm to market road. Down at the bottom of the
You
hill.
know,
Freddie
like where you
Miller.
go past Pheasant Hills on Greenview?
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
it curves back on 240th I think, doesn't it? Isn't that where that intersects, or is that 230th? You know, we have this wonderful thing called technology. Let's look it up.
240
it's
is,
not very straight north of 92.
it's about 3 miles down there,
3 miles?
maybe 4 to.
way we could pull up an aerial photo.
Well, there he is.
Pull it up on the map over there. Melvin pulled the screen down. Is that same gentleman still the waterworks guy or what, the,
Rural water?
yeah?
I believe so.
Okay.
Nick, I
Yeah,
think his name was.
yeah.
So to answer your question, Scott, it's an absolute straight shot.
Okay.
And it does link back up with, when you hit 92, on the other side, that's Greenview's curve after Pheasant Hills that curves
Yeah.
back over.
1892.
If you just give me the airplay, I'll throw it on the screen right now.
Well, I got it. I got a map on my phone up already.
Oh, go ahead.
So on the
Just type in
north,
240
on the north
straight, it'll link
side, is 240 already bituminous on the north side then?
There is a section on 6.
But no, not off 92?
No, it's
All
not.
right. How did I get rid of that thing? There's that,
Yeah, no.
church there in that development, and then it goes straight up to, Greenview, and then I don't know what road that is. It has the curve over there to the left, but there's the trail, I think, with a little curve on the east side of the 240th. And I have no idea where the county line is.
So if you look right there at the 81 degrees, and then right there above that, that's Pioneer Trail.
Yeah.
So we're talking this whole area right here. This is that development area down here, and then this is the other one. This is all Nancy Schultz's family's farm, and then this is that other piece that I was telling you earlier that is probably gonna be coming up eventually. So you got, so like I said, right now, this is for sure all developable land.
That's where Brent was, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's that feedlot that you were probably thinking of.
Yeah.
So that's that one, there's this farm, and then this one is also right now up for, I don't wanna say up for grabs, but there's talk that that's gonna become available really quick. So my thought is, get the infrastructure out there.
Well, there's gonna be a lot of backfill to the north in the future.
But I mean, you get the infrastructure ran out there, I don't know, fiber, I mean, that might be worth it too. Run that straight down 240th along with, I don't know where your water's gonna go, I guess.
Well, what telecom runs that area?
I don't know.
I'm gonna guess CenturyLink and Cox are out there, but I don't know.
Cox goes all the way to,
Is it in Tracyville?
I don't know. It's off Woodland Trail, it's in Parkwood Acres, and I think goes all the way up to Woodland Acres at the top, and it stops there. So you're right at Dumfries there, I mean, you're not far away. I used to fight with them because their stupid cable lines went over my 2 driveways at my old house when it was too low. But anyway, so contact the attorneys next, is that what you were saying? We really need to
We'll
do?
reach out to the attorneys in rural water again.
Who do you want to contact that? You or me, us? What do we want?
The meeting with rural water, will probably be best with, at least a couple of supervisors and myself and the developer.
So who wants to, so you got Matt? I'd volunteer myself if you guys are okay with it.
Scott's been pretty heavily involved in it
You want
already.
I'd like to talk to Rural Water.
Okay, so Scott, myself, and then Matt.
I wanna talk to them about the problems we have with, where do I start? Wildwood, Green Meadows South, Sherwood, or, what's those other ones?
Hilltop, all
Wilshire
those.
Heights.
What's that?
Wilshire Heights on that.
Wilshire, all those.
Robin something.
Yeah, Robin Hills.
So that gentleman from rural water said if Council Post Waterworks signs off on something that they will not run water into that area, he can run water into those areas and service those individuals.
Okay, so me, Scott, Matt, we're gonna talk to rural water. Who's gonna talk to attorneys? Is that Becky?
Well, Pam's already in communication with her. We can have Pam send an email up and
Okay.
start that.
They usually just keep me in the loop.
Yeah, because you two are gonna need to communicate on that. Okay, so that's that one. Pioneer Trail's good. I think that'll at least get our next steps going. And then when we're ready to put it on the agenda to start getting moving forward, I wanna know. Okay. I wanna go back to the firing range real quick. And perhaps we need to get more feedback from Sheriff Danker and Rob. But there was a 28E agreement that was sent over to the county from the city to review, and I think there was some concern on, it almost looked like there was a sunset on this 28E to where we could almost be written out of the picture, and I think that's where we wanted to see some change with that. But I would like to get from the board at least, you know, whether or not we want to pursue this or not. Like, the city deserves to know whether or not we want to partner with this or not.
And I have that 28E, and you guys had looked at it probably 6 months ago or longer.
Yeah.
And said no to it. Because, you know, yeah, the concern was they could just cut us out entirely and then charge us to use
Has
it.
anyone communicated that to the city from the county in an official capacity at all?
I believe so.
Well,
Because they were working with, what's the officer's name? Shoot. I don't think it was Lee Master, it was,
Is it Greg Schultz from the city, you're saying?
was it Schultz?
No, I think it was Lee Master.
Was it Terry that came and presented that?
I think so.
And we had told him that that language wasn't gonna fly.
Right.
Were you,
No, I'm not here for that.
did that get handed to you, or were you originally on that, Leanne? I mean, were you in those discussions with those guys? Because who was it it wasn't Danker that was it Rob?
Rob was the.
Was it
Rob
Rob?
was the one who's,
Was it
Right.
Rob?
right.
Okay.
So I have the 28E, you know, that they proposed to us, and I'm just not real sure. I wasn't sure if you guys wanted that to be amended somehow that might be acceptable to the county and possibly acceptable to the city. I'm not sure
Right, so
where you wanted to go with it.
I don't know, I'll have to go look and see on my desk. I'll make a note, but I can't remember the original 28E. If I can see that one again, what they had changed,
I think it was pretty much the same, Scott.
They changed something in there.
Yeah, they added a time period for the lease to happen, and then there was nothing in it that would keep the county in partnership with the city on that shooting range. They wanted an opportunity to write us out of that, and that just wasn't.
That's not true.
That's,
It appeared that way reading it.
well,
So, hold on, because I've had these conversations with them, that is not true. So I don't want to say that, especially in public forum, that's what they want to do. They
Well-
they wrote it that way, not realizing it, that's the way we would perceive it. So I don't start that rumor, that's not fair. They do not want to cut us out of the picture, they realize that we're fully gonna be involved in that building down there, hopefully forever. I mean, but yeah, the
you
way it's
understand,
written.
that's not what it said. In
No,
the-
and I get that, and I brought that to city council, a couple of city councilmen's attention. But from what I'm hearing from that same city councilman and their attorney is that they're waiting on the county to say something. They're waiting on us to come back and say, this needs changed.
Okay, well then let's
So I don't know whose desk it's on right now, but that's what I wanna get it down. If it's on Leanne's desk, then,
It's on my desk,
so
but I need some direction from you guys as to,
So my direction would be that we have you and Dick Wade sort out that sunset deal on there.
okay.
I mean, that's me, I don't know about the rest of you, but.
If you
Did
could
they
send me,
indicate why they wanted dates in there? Because the original 28E, there's no,
right,
it's perpetual.
I
Why
don't
was
wanna
that, why was that
speculate, but I know that
changed?
it wasn't the intent, I know that. So-
Okay,
if you don't mind, you got the old one and the new one,
Yes.
if you can scan, steal, email it.
Well, I'm telling you, you know, when you have an agreement and it's perpetual, and then the next time they wanna change it, and they wanna put in a time frame for participation from the county, that tells me, that kinda gives me the sense that, they would look at the possibility of not including the county in the future of that range.
And it was a short time,
Yeah, it was like
like
3
3
years.
years, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, which, I mean, it's one thing to go from perpetual to 50 years, but perpetual to 3 years, it looked like they had some other intent.
No, and I think we were all hypersensitive because of what all went down with like,
That happened to be about the time when the other discussions were going on. When, yeah.
but I know this council was saying, let's cut the BS and let's move forward on something, work together. I mean, I think that's what's going on, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you wanna let us know when you've had those conversations with Dick Wade, then I'm assuming Dick's the one.
Actually, Graham Jura, I think, is the person
Okay.
I last spoke to regarding it.
Yeah.
Would you guys prefer that I propose it continue to be perpetual rather than have any, there was some other language in there, a couple of,
Yeah, there seemed like there
Tweaks.
was.
Can you get us those,
I will
get
resend
those
it
to
to
the
you.
board
I
so we can take
believe-
another look at them?
I believe what
Been
I
so
sent
long
to you
ago.
guys, like I said, I know we talked about this 6-8 months ago. The original one and their new one with my comments about what the changes are and what, legally what those changes mean.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
So that subject's done. Now we'll move on. We've got a few good ones. So, this can go any route. I mean, do you have anything you want to add on your list of projects that you think we will need to keep a close eye on?
Well, I think when the board approved the capital plan 4-1, we had a funding stream designated. I think it's still there. However, if the board decides to move forward with the urban renewal area to maybe recapture some of those funds that we use, gaming revenue or spending our cash reserve down, I'm perfectly fine with that. You know, the capital plan is just a plan, but we're moving forward with part of it by the renovation of the B wing. I mean, that's a $5 million commitment. And the funds are there for that.
But I'd rather recoup whatever funds we can if we can.
There's another project that the board committed to as well, and that's gonna be, about a ballpark and a $1.5 million commitment that we've already give the go-ahead for. It hasn't happened yet, but it's getting really, really close to
No, I know,
happening.
and that's a lot of the reason we're here having this discussion.
Right.
Which one is that?
Ski.
Um,
So, there's funds available for that, but you know, when you start saying, okay, let's do a 2 million water main and $1 million shooting range, and then we're spending our reserve down to the point where we have gaming revenue coming in every month. Nobody knows how much that's gonna be. If the casinos even recover to give us enough money, they're gonna be able to provide us funding, but it may not be at the level we were getting before. And then, we will have taken our reserve down to the point where it's about a 35% level, which I think everybody, when we had this discussion on the capital plan, was okay with that 35% level. So then, now we've got any reserve and gaming revenue and the, what is that, the construction and property
land
fund?
improvement.
Land improvement,
Land
construction
improvement
fund, you know, we've used those revenues to take care of the B wing, the other $1.5 million project that we've committed to, the possible, expansion in addition to the courthouse, which is estimated at about another 5 million. That takes us to the point where our gaming revenues balance is down tremendously, and so is our cash reserves down. So if you take a look at that, we can do all that, but the urban renewal plan, if we decide to move forward with that and we can recapture some of those funds, right, Becky?
So in the urban renewal plan, you're not at the point that my understanding was, we weren't planning on capturing funds. The urban renewal plan was going to be put in place because if we designate and we put that plan in place, then the legislation that keeps us in $900,000 plot or buckets now, and doesn't allow us to put cash with bonding.
You're talking exact same thing.
Right, but we're not paying ourselves
Yes.
back. It's just,
We could.
however,
You could if you bought
if,
it.
if you bought it, you could do the debt
Exactly,
service,
that's what I'm
but you could
talking
put
about.
cash with it, put it back, but you won't get it with revenue from
No,
TIF
you're on
or
the same
anything.
page. You just, yeah. You're
I
right.
just misunderstood how you asked it.
So that's
Here's the
where
thing
we-
though, when we did this plan and we approved it, you know, we also didn't have two major events happen. We didn't have the flood, we didn't have the pandemic. You know, and maybe the flood was happening at the time, I don't remember, but, you know, we've lost some serious revenue, and I'm a little concerned about catching back up. And honestly, I'd rather just keep a little bit more money in our savings account until we know what that looks like. And this is not gonna be the end of projects that come down the road, you know?
I don't think this 35% rule is gonna stay that way after this deal. I never agreed with it before, but
Well,
that's some recommendation
there's
by
some
the
counties
things.
out there that have
Because-
just stupid
Because,
reserves, you know?
again, we're finding out we can only collect really revenue twice a year. You know, and the expenses are the same every month to operate. And now we're losing, you know.
So that 35% allows us to do that, Scott, to keep moving forward and paying our bills until
But if we
taxes
lose,
are
he
collected.
loses, let's just say hypothetically, he uses 25% of his road use tax. They were projecting 40, now they're 25 is what I've been reading. And we lose sales tax, we go down to casino money. It don't take long for that to start draining that pot pretty fast.
Yeah, the casino revenue, we don't use any casino revenue for the
Well,
operation
I
in the county.
understand. I
Okay.
understand.
So that,
It'd be nice if we needed to.
But all the fees and stuff, I mean.
you know what, if, I understand where
I
you're
feel a lot
going
more
with that.
comfortable making investments when I know the world is a little more stable, you know? I mean, but these other things, like this neighborhood, for example, running water, I mean, some of these other purchases we're making are not making us money, and they never will. They're gonna be an expense. You know, finishing the B-wing is gonna be forever an expense to this county. It's not really gonna save us any money. You know, whereas building a new neighborhood and bringing new families in here that make money, that are in that income bracket that we're targeting for a good tax base, that's making money. So if I had a choice between buying a piece of property that's gonna do nothing but be nature, or a piece of property that's gonna make the county money, I'm gonna go after the money, especially right now.
You know, I understand that concept. However, if you take a look at the expense that we have in the services building, and even getting that to where it's handicap accessible and a good functional building, I think it's making the county money by completing the renovation of the B wing and getting our people over there
I mean, I don't know.
in it. So that's just a difference of opinion, and will the county ever recapture the funds that we spend to renovate the B-wing? I don't know. But we're definitely saving money by eliminating a building that would cost us thousands and hundreds of thousands, or maybe even $1 million or $2 million, to even get to the point where it's functionable.
Yeah, but I think if we are able to do urban renewal and take care of our debt situation that we know is looming too. I mean, we know we're gonna be in a situation where our debt service levy is gonna just, a significant amount's gonna drop off that. So if we're able to capture those, I don't say capture the funds, but maintain that debt service levy, or even some of it, I think we're money ahead, and I think that's the right route
At
to
least
go.
put yourself in an opportunity
And I'm
to do so.
perfectly fine moving down that avenue, if
Well,
that's what the board wants to do.
The thing that we don't ever know in the wild cards that are out there, if the state decides in their infinite wisdom, just like they did on this county zoning board and planning commission, said, well, we're not gonna backfill you full, we're only gonna backfill you 50%. or, you know, we're gonna do this, you know, then there's nothing we can do. We can't go and say, well, we're gonna sue the state. We gotta come up with the money if they don't backfill us, you know? And they keep on,
Fortunately, that's not even on the table for discussion this year.
well, until they're out of there, I'm not sure what's on the table with them.
You
guys.
got
I didn't think.
you got 3 days.
They didn't think these zoning and planning things were gonna be on the table this year either. And she signed them right, even before they went back in session. That's the other piece that we're dealing with. And I don't know what these revenues are gonna be. I mean, he's gonna be down what, and I'm saying he, the recorder, what was he bringing in, 50 or 70 grand a year on passports?
Mhm.
That's gone, you know? I just think we probably, you know, better look at these revenues, start, especially after the end of this month, have another session on what these revenues are looking like. And I mean, I'm hopeful that they're still trending fine, but from the stuff I'm seeing, that's not the case with most of these counties. And then the other piece of that is, we found out, I don't know, let's see, so March, April, May, we're into June, how we've operated as a county for these last 90 days and how that may look going for the next 4 or 5 years. And, you know, do we have an opportunity still to, maybe that space becomes one of those spaces over there more flexible, because Suzanne's people really don't need a spot per se. They've been working from home with their clients and stuff. You know, I mean, I just think we need to really look at all that, how we operate from those perspectives. The cost of every square foot in here has a cost. That's only going one way. It's up.
I mean, that goes back to your point of having a building that's hemorrhaging money across the street too, though. I mean, we
Yeah.
need to rivet, but I think, okay, I wanna go next steps. So we need to, the city council members that I've talked to have asked us as a board to come over to the city, and it might be good to bring Mark Corey or someone that has a lot more knowledge than us with us to give a presentation to them to say, here's what we're trying to accomplish. And, to get their buy-in and then have them vote on it. So more than likely, we need to be a part of one of their study sessions to give the presentation, and then I would like to be on that. You're absolutely gonna need to be on it.
It'll most likely be Jason from Mullers and Cooney.
That information packet, and I gave it to every one of them except for Joe, I believe, is pretty, I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, and Mark will do a good job of representing it.
Either one.
Yeah, it's I mean, it's
Fine with me.
And they're just waiting for us, they said we probably already, just from discussions I've had with them, just the building, specs and plans and the engineering studies we've had done with HGM already has probably armed us with enough to, and they gave us an example, and I think
Right.
we sent it weeks ago to the board to create that
I think
slumber
that
blight
piece is all-
designation. The
I mean,
board
that
makes
piece
that
is all done.
designation, we go down the road.
the only thing we need is their
The city's stamp, and we can go.
their blessing, and
So
I mean, it's
I'm
done.
asking you to put this together so we can get into a position to present at city council. And when you're ready for that, let me know, and then I'll take that over to Matt Walsh or whatever.
I think it's just a
Whatever we're gonna
discussion.
do.
Jody.
Yeah, their city clerk, I guess. So, okay.
Is that a time limit? Is that a 20-year deal, or is?
Slumber blight is no sunset.
Pardon?
Slumber blight does not have a sunset.
It does not.
All right, so before our food gets cold, let's take a few minutes to get our food, and we can kind of keep discussions going if you want, or we can just eat, whatever we want to do.
And that, we're defining that as this campus here.
That's our choice.
But no, but
Yeah.
we're only gonna, my understanding, I just wanna make sure, because if I get talked about, that we're just county property here proper is all we're doing.
Yeah, basically just our campus
Or are
right
we
here.
gonna cut this out in the elections building and the
Yeah,
VA
yeah.
parcel as well?
Yeah,
But the city, the other thing we need to do when we give this presentation is allow the city the chance, because they may have, they're able to take advantage of this as well. If that opportunity exists for them, we need to make sure we
They,
let them.
they already do per se with what, they're very well aware of how it works. We're
Yeah,
just
they
wanting
can-
to be able
Yeah.
to use that same,
we've been doing it that's for a long time.
Partially use our bonding capacity too, if they wanted, right? That's the way I understood it. In the same, it had to be in
within
the same
if
district.
we put any projects in. Our projects are
They
gonna
won't want
be our
to.
own renovation.
They're not going
and our
to,
own-
but I mean, I'm just saying it might be something like known. Okay, let's get our food. Got boxer barbecue.
Oh, boy. Boy, move.
Hey, Matt, we didn't have Brown and Witt on the agenda,
I
right?
can, and you can tell me if this is appropriate. for this
The Witt
conversation.
people on the
So-
agenda?
Not for today, no.
Oh, okay.
Because I was trying to get that okay.
Okay.
So,
Is there a?
Leanne, you're gonna stay, aren't you? I'm gonna go get my
Body
lunch and come back
cameras,
down. Okay.
station, sprinkler upgrade, all of that. We have $47,000.
When is he gonna get this Wi-Fi sped up?
Who's that?
Because I'd rather, we also have
buyer.
a premium on that bond. So anything.
They're all-
in the overall description of the whole
I don't know. He's gonna get it
that has a
sped
high
up. I got
budget right now,
faster Wi-Fi at home than
spend
this is.
$47,000 on
We're-
it.
Thank you very much,
Public hearing to do
Yeah.
that. And I was just, for the sake of,
Yeah, it's,
treasurer's sake and
full
everyone
board.
else,
Do we need that?
spend that before June 30th.
Do we need to say
So
something to
in
somebody?
there,
I
IT,
think
auditor,
you were
recorder
bonded for
improvements.
it.
Oh, is that what?
$10,000 to.
No, I'm
Tim,
talking
we're wearing
about,
white shirts
I'm not
today,
talking
so I
about
wanna make sure we got
they're
something
doing that,
nice.
they're doing their own thing. No, I'm talking about, I just discovered, trying to end the year, we'd like to, this bond
Yeah, so
proceed
the
money
FDA
needs to go,
knocks us
it
down
needs
to
to be gone. We had
50
$10,833 in interest, this much in just after
right?
the,
So
up to
we're,
amounts.
we're working with
Yep, 47,000.
Distillery in Omaha. so
And in
sending
that
a
first
national
page,
bid,
there's a
having them
description of what it can be spent on without
Where's that
us
going?
redirecting it.
Well, they're on the Vista, kind of over there by Oriole Trading Company on Giles Road.
Okay.
Down that, their little business district down there, they got their little setup.
They're not a retail joint.
They have a retail side of it, yeah.
Sheriff's vehicles.
Oh, they're at-
Those
they're
are
at that
things
They got a
that
bar,
are
like a bar inside of their distillery.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, it's
At
kind
that
of-
location?
Yep.
Wow.
It's kind of weird. It looks like a commercial business district. I don't know how to explain it, but you go in there and,
Industrial district.
yeah, you don't expect it to be there, but, when you walk in,
It says Patriarch?
Patriarch, yeah.
Right now,
Soldier Valley Whiskey, that's their label.
Oh.
the board thing,
They're all veteran based.
or redirect, I will, I will, I'll let you know.
Problem with
I
them
thought
is
you
they're so
might
much
know.
smaller that we can't, we're able to produce like 5,000 gallons a day, they can only do maybe 1,000 a week if they're.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just pulled pork.
Otherwise, we have to create a
Start it,
whole new one.
Okay, that's fine, I just wanna make sure I was recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another question. We're not like so close that we do that.
Scott,
1.5.
I was keeping track of the viewers. The highest has been 14 for the live stream.
14?
That's
From
the
the start?
highest. Mm-hmm.
Or right now?
Right now.
Can we check? Should we pause it until we eat? Or is that?
Becky said we have to like start the whole thing over. I think I just asked her if I should end it. What do you think?
I think we should end it and start
Just
over.
end it?
Because I don't really want a Facebook live video of us eating food, or whatever, YouTube.
So, and it doesn't affect taxpayers.
I don't know if Melvin has to do some